Hi, I'm Maddie at the NSCU. I'm a current sophomore at Indiana University, and I'm sort of here to bring the youth perspective to this presentation. And this is my mom, Dr. Heather at the NSCU, and she works with Community in Crisis to sort of bring these educational materials about vaping around to different schools, different teachers, and areas in New Jersey. And today we'll be talking to you about why teens are ditching their devices and speaking up about their vaping experiences. So let's get started. So first of all, why did teens start vaping in the first place? So a lot of the answers we received were the flavors were really interesting and they wanted to try it. And also their friends were doing it, and there was definitely a social aspect to vaping. However, at this day and age, that sort of social aspect, especially in quarantine, has sort of died down. And it's not as cool to be sitting alone in your room vaping, and teens have sort of started to wonder, what is this doing to my body? And the answer is nothing good.
Yeah, we all know that vaping was originally billed as something that was a safe alternative to cigarettes, and it has become abundantly clear that that is not the case. And many teens themselves have said they want to share the messages about their experiences with serious complications that they've had because of vaping. This is an 18-year-old, Seema Herman. She was hospitalized and placed in a medically induced coma for 5 days, and she was somebody who vaped a cartridge a day, not an uncommon thing for teens who are vaping. So the word is getting out there, and people are aware that this is harmful. Some things, sometimes the harm is very extreme, like the example that we just saw. Sometimes there's, the symptoms are sort of more subtle. There sort of are conditions they call Nick sick, like this syndrome. Students have gone into nurse's office sort of with increased heart rates, like pounding hearts, and not feeling well or feeling lightheaded. Nurses are finding high blood pressures, things like that. The symptoms over here on the left side are the ones that are sort of early stage symptoms of maybe having too much nicotine in your system, and they can progress to the symptoms over on the right, where that heart rate drops lower and the blood pressure drops and you feel weak and maybe your breathing is shallow. That's a sign. Those are signs that are really serious. If you or a friend experienced anything like these symptoms, you need to be seeking attention, and especially letting the people that you're getting attention from, let them know that you're somebody who vapes, and especially if you're vaping recently. It can be really serious. Sometimes with toxicity, these symptoms can progress to seizures, respiratory failure, and cardiac arrest. And there's actually been situations where kids have had seizures, grand mal seizures, and while at school. So nicotine is not an innocuous substance.
And so with all of this bad press that vaping has received, and also just the stories that kids hear, it's sort of brought to the attention of teenagers that we don't want to be the next generation of smokers. We don't want to be, raised with all these health problems just because we were addicted to nicotine at a young age. And, just most importantly, we don't want to be hooked on this substance our whole lives.
So athletes themselves have been calling the Truth Initiative quit lines. The Truth Initiative is a great organization that has a lot of resources and has done a lot of work educating young people and parents and staff about vaping and the dangers to the body and the teenage brain. So athletes have called these quit lines saying, oh my gosh, I can't do what I used to do on the field. When I'm performing, it's just not there. So help me quit. Maddie's going to talk a little bit about a few examples.
Yeah, so here we have Cade, and he was a really promising hockey player. He was actually getting scouted by colleges, but he started vaping, and it sort of took him away from the sport he loved. He couldn't stay on the ice for more than a minute without being really tired and losing breath. And that's really sad to think that someone could have so much potential in a sport and vaping could take that away from them. Nicotine addiction could really, diminish their ability in that sport. And additionally, we have Madison here, who gave up her varsity sport of gymnastics because vaping made it hard for her to breathe. But in addition to that, she just stopped caring. And she has a quote up here: "The moment I started using nicotine, it turned off my future goals completely." And that's a really sad side effect that nicotine can have because of the dopamine in your brain. My mom will elaborate on that.
Yeah, we were having a really good talk with parents at a local middle school, and one of the parents asked, well, if students lose this sort of motivation and this interest in things that they used to love, that comes back, right, after they stop vaping or, using. And I couldn't answer that question, so I turned that over to the student assistant counselor who was there at the time. And she said it often comes back, but it doesn't always. Sometimes it depends on the individual, how long they've been vaping. But when you put nicotine into this young developing brain, you rewire these circuits that are still developing, and sometimes that rewiring is changed forever. So some people will lose that. Imagine losing that ability to find joy in the things that bring normal people happiness every day.
Yeah.
That would be a sad thing. And I did want to point out, this is not Madison Linger.
Yeah.
This is, I think, a U.S. national team, but we didn't have a picture of Madison to put in there. I also we've been talking to the athletes recently. We've talked about the effects on the body, but we also want to make an appeal to the serious students out there. We live in an area in central northern New Jersey where our school districts are fantastic. We have great teachers, and we have students who put so much time and effort into their courses. They take honors courses, AP classes, and that's a lot of time and effort. And I mentioned marijuana and the serious student because there's been a real uptick in the vaping of marijuana among students, among high school students, especially seniors. So if you're somebody who cares about your future or who is putting all this time and effort into your studies, if you're also vaping marijuana, even it doesn't have to be on a regular basis, you can really affect your outcome. So you're sort of shooting yourself in the foot if you're working real hard on your studies and then, vaping or smoking marijuana to sort of relax when you're not studying. Marijuana is proven to lower IQs, result in lower grades and college completion rates. There's just lower life satisfaction overall, lower earned income, lower employment, and there is a risk of, there's a higher risk of schizophrenia and depression. They've shown a possible link between that and marijuana. So anyway, just want to bring that up as a point for people to think about. And nicotine itself can affect your motivation and ability to focus. So that may also affect the serious student.
Yeah. And so just something else to bring up, and as this goes with every other fad that has ever, graced this earth, is that the fad will fade. Trends are up and down, and vaping is not going to be cool forever. It's going to become probably something our kids make fun of, us for doing. They're like, oh, you did that when you were younger. And it's definitely, it's not going to be the coolest thing forever.
So this is sort of interesting. We're trying to think of reasons, that students can relate to, like, why do I want to put this behind me or never start in the first place? So we were looking at the cost, like what does it cost somebody to vape a year? And if you just looked at a Juul pod a day, like that was the case of our young lady at the beginning who ended up in the hospital. If you were just vaping a pod a day, that worked out to be about $1,500 every year that you could save. When we were on a local college campus, students would stop by and talk with us about things. And one young woman who had recently quit vaping, she said she easily spent like $4,000 to $5,000 a year. Another young person I spoke with, a young professional in their mid-20s, he easily spent, again, like upwards of $5,000 a year vaping.
Yeah, and that's a lot of money, especially, coming from a college student. That goes a long way in college. That's, lots of food with friends, that's gas money, that's, paying for a really cool concert or new clothes, just so many things that you can do with that money that are so much better for yourself than putting a bad chemical into your body, an addictive chemical, or giving the money to those huge tobacco corporations who already have taken plenty of money from the youth. And yeah. In addition to that, we also just wanted to say that in these times, this COVID, we just, like, you don't have much control over your life. and that's something we're all sort of feeling. But your mental wellness and your health are something that you can control. And so in terms of vaping, now is the time to sort of quit and take control of that and have a little bit of power back in your life and a little bit more of mental wellness.
So if you're ready to quit, or if you know somebody who may need support quitting, you can get information for them and help them out. You can check out our final webinar 5, where we're going to talk about 3 great resources that we've already sort of checked out and be a great place to start. They're listed right here, and you can also go to communityincrisis.org if you wanted to check these out and get some other information on other resources. We really want to thank you for being here today and for spending, this time getting more information. Maybe you're a student and you have to be here today, and we're sorry. But anyway, hopefully you've learned something new. Today's talk was supposed to be more about, instead of education, more about like inspiration. So hopefully this inspires people to take action if you're vaping now, and maybe reconsider that. And if you're not vaping, awesome. Like, stay with that.